Hiring in the healthcare industry is on the upswing, and the growing demand to meet the shortages that have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic continue to remain a concern and a challenge. The founder and CEO of Matchwell, Rob Crow, founded his company in January 2019 on the simple belief that facilities and healthcare professionals deserve more, empowering both the healthcare organization and the healthcare professional. With us today to talk about Matchwell is Director of Recruiting, Liz Allen, and Director of Clinical and Quality, Bree Becker. Welcome to you both, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to share more about Matchwell and our current opportunities.
Yes, thank you so much, Heather.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump right into our conversation today. I love the tagline, "Say hello to healthcare's first unagency." But can you talk with us a little bit more about what that means specifically?
Sure. So in the healthcare industry, as many people know, especially your students going through healthcare schooling here, there's a persistent shortage of qualified healthcare professionals, which leads many organizations to use staffing agencies to fill empty shifts and make sure there's coverage for patients. However, the on-demand nature of agency staffing comes at a premium price to these organizations. Agencies can make immense profits by jacking up their bill rates, which is what they charge to their clients. And they do this when demand spikes, like we've seen with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Sure.
Matchwell provides healthcare organizations access to the same vetted professionals without the markups or buyout fees common to agencies.
So that's the organization side. And then the clinician side of, when you use an agency is that you don't have as much flexibility with scheduling and even access to the different hiring managers. So, for example, if you are a nurse working through a staffing agency, typically the recruiter that you talk to is in the driver's seat in terms of where you work because they're looking for that highest rate. So with Matchwell, we allow our clinicians access to the hiring manager, and they get to pick where they want to work and where they pick up shifts. And so we think that giving clinicians control not only of where they work, but when they work is really important because now more than ever, we're hearing lots of burnout and clinicians, specifically registered nurses, walking away due to the increased demand with COVID and the pandemic. And, there's really no end in sight right now. So in order to combat that, one thing that we can do is provide more autonomy and flexibility with their scheduling.
That's fantastic. It really does sound like an ideal scenario for all involved, for sure. All right, so Matchwell currently has openings in 16 states for both licensed and unlicensed positions. I know that you pride yourself in meeting the demands of individuals who are looking for flexibility. Can you share with us a little more about all these opportunities?
Yes, definitely. So at Matchwell, we are excited to have flexible job opportunities with amazing different partner healthcare companies throughout 16 states. Primarily, we are currently in the East Coast and in the Midwest, but we are constantly adding new locations and new states. So we work with healthcare professionals in multiple fields, but the majority of our opportunities right now are for nursing and care staff.
Okay.
We also work with all types of healthcare settings, including acute care hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, behavioral health organizations, home health, just to name a few. And our opportunities right now, we have hundreds throughout the US for registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, nurse aides, caregivers, and some allied health professional positions as well.
Great.
And the other thing that makes our job opportunities unique is the flexibility that we offer. So I'm a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner. So I come from this world of, I've worked many different schedules over the last 15 years in my career. And even within organizations, when you have, if you're part of a flex pool or you're part of a flex schedule, there are certain requirements that you have to meet. So you have to work so many night shifts or so many weekends and holidays. And so the unique thing about Matchwell is really the clinician is setting their schedule. So they go in, once they've been approved with an organization, they can set what shifts they're going to work. They can pick up shifts as needed. And then if they're looking for a more consistent, hours and schedule, they can pick up long-term contracts. So it really is up to the clinician when they work, and it's up to them, in terms of what works best for their schedule. So it's a really nice, um, system for working moms, for nurses who are going back to school, maybe to get their advanced degree, and you're really focused on school, or you're focused on things outside of your profession, but you don't want to leave your profession. So it's a really nice option for nurses and other care staff who are looking for that.
It does sound like a really great flexible option for sure.
Yeah, we
All
think
right,
so.
with all, yeah, yeah. So with all these open opportunities, can you tell us a little bit more about what you're looking for in a qualified candidate?
Absolutely. So first off, we want the candidates that come into Matchwell to understand that the nature of our jobs are primarily around this flexible work concept. So the
Hmm.
majority of our jobs that they'll see are per diem shifts, or meaning as needed, or more long-term contract opportunities. We do have some full-time options as well, where you go, direct hire with our clients, which is awesome for those who want to have a, permanent position with one of our clients. However, the majority of our openings are currently for those more flexible schedules. So just making sure you have an understanding of that, and that's really what you're looking for in terms of work right now. We are also looking for candidates with some healthcare experience, ideally. It's certainly difficult to walk in on the floor as a brand new grad nurse or brand new CNA with the per diem staffing. You're usually expecting clinicians to come in with a little bit of experience under their belt so they can jump right in. So certainly depends, people have different experience with, for example, caregivers, maybe taking care of family
Hmm.
members, and that's definitely relevant experience for our positions. Um, we also are looking for, with applicable positions, licenses.
Hmm.
So nurses, CNAs, we have therapists. They do have to have their active and current state licenses. Nurses, we know, may have a compact license, which is fine. But we are also looking for additional credentials such as vaccination records, if those are required by clients, TB screens, sometimes skills checklists. So when you do create your Matchwell account and you start applying for jobs, you'll see any specific requirements that our clients are looking for. And so all of our credentialing requirements are set by our clients. So if
Okay.
you see anything in there that doesn't apply to you, or you don't have, take a look at some of our other opportunities, because they may differ from client to client.
All right. I often talk with students and grads all the time about previous experience with taking care of family members and how important that still is to make sure that you're including on your resume as well. So I'm really happy that you brought that up.
Absolutely. Goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we know that there's really never a guarantee that Matchwell is going to hire someone, right? So it's important for the individual to establish a strong profile. Can you walk us through what professionals can expect when developing their free profile through Matchwell?
So they can start off they just go to wematchwell.com, and then they just have a few things that they have to enter: their name, email address. It will allow them to quickly create their account, and it's free. And then at that point, they'll select what discipline they are. So if they're a registered nurse, they would select that. And then, as Liz said, we're looking for just your license number, a resume, and then you can start to enter in your experience. And so the more information that you enter, the
Hmm.
way platform works is we have these algorithms that we're building in to help you find the best match based on what you put in. So, for example, my experience is all in women's health. And so, it doesn't really help me to go in, create an account, and just see, med surg or ICU openings. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
the more information that you can enter, it will help our algorithm target you to the jobs that fit your skill set.
Okay.
Yes, and so once a clinician registers, which typically takes just a couple of minutes, they can view all of our openings. It will default to showing them the locations closest to them, but you can adjust your locations and look across the US if you want to. So when they find an opening or openings that are of interest, they just simply upload a resume and license if a license is required for the position to proceed with the application. So once they upload their license and resume, the Matchwell team will verify those documents, make sure everything is up to date, and submit the application over to our hiring partners, which are on site at the clients. So at this point, the clients are just usually checking to make sure that maybe if they've worked there before, that they're eligible to come back. Maybe that they meet their experience requirements, so on. So we're just waiting to get a thumbs up from the hiring manager to move forward with onboarding. And once the application is approved, our Matchwell team will contact the clinician to continue with onboarding, upload any remaining credentials, completing a background check and drug screen if required, and finishing up some pre-employment paperwork. So we really try to keep most of our process within the platform for candidates, so everything is easy to navigate. But there are some things like background checks and drug screens that you'll do through our background check partners.
Okay. Well, you've shared so much great information about the innovative approach that Matchwell has in serving both healthcare organizations and the professionals out there seeking employment that is flexible and provides diverse opportunities. What other advice do you have to share with us today?
Well, if only we had an hour because there is so much advice
Right.
that I could share. But I think the four things that come to my mind, as a nurse and not just a Matchwell employee, but someone who's been in the industry for quite some time, with registered nurses, there's a lot of talk now and awareness about burnout. And I think as a new nurse and as a new grad, one thing that you can do is when you're going in and talking to different employers, asking them about their resiliency programs because of this, we have data that shows 17% of nurses leave after the first year. That number increases to 35% in the second year. And so with the shortage, we can't afford to lose our nurses at that rate. We want nurses to go into the career with a long-term goal in mind, that this is what they want to do throughout the rest of their professional career. And the good thing about entering right now is that because there's so much recognition in burnout and trying to mitigate burnout, organizations are creating these really in-depth resiliency programs because they realize they have to take care of their nurses and their other staff because they want them there for the long term. So
Right.
thinking about that, and don't be afraid when you're going in job interviews to just ask them about their resiliency programs. And then I think also, along with that is being prepared to set boundaries. Once you get, 6 months under your belt, oftentimes, especially in the acute care world, you're not considered a green nurse or new nurse anymore. And so you'll be asked very quickly to work overtime and to do, extra things. So set boundaries. I'm not saying that it's, you should never work overtime, but just keep that long-term goal in mind that this is, you want to last the rest of your career. And so we don't want you to get exhausted, within the first 1 to 2 years. And so just have in mind what your boundaries are going to be and don't be afraid to protect your schedule and to protect your life outside of your job. And then I think also as a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner, and honestly, any role that you work in healthcare, professional development is so important. So, once you graduate from university and you pass your boards, your education doesn't stop there. You have to continue learning because healthcare evolves. So when you think about the pandemic and, we were fighting a pathogen and caring for patients with this pathogen that we didn't know much about. And so we've learned over the past 20 to 24 months. And so to me, that's the exciting thing about healthcare. And that's why I love it. But keep your professional development as a priority. And then obviously, from a Matchwell standpoint, we think transparency is huge. So, when you're interviewing with different organizations, look for organizations that are honest with you, that, I always look for cross-team collaboration. So, when you go into an organization, do each of the departments collaborate with each other? Are they open about their quality data? Do they have an open process about how to report errors? And do they see errors as an opportunity for you to grow and not necessarily a punitive item? So I think those are the four, resiliency, setting your boundaries, being committed to your professional development, and then looking for transparency everywhere you go. So we talk about it a lot at Matchwell related to agencies, but I think transparency is something we should see permeate all of healthcare, not just in the agency world.
Absolutely. So much important professional advice. Thank you so much. Thank you both so much for being here with us today and sharing more about the fantastic opportunities that Matchwell has to offer.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having us.